Hello. Here we are, getting ready to start lesson 11. Wow, that is really out of focus. Let's see if we can't bring that into focus better. Well, okay, lesson 11. Make sure that you watch the Eureka video first, and then you're going to do the application problem about Jacob and collecting baseball cards. Make sure that you use cubes and you do read, write, and draw. I did want to talk to you just a tiny bit about these 70 baseball cards that he is going to collect, and he gave half of them to his brother. They want to know how many baseball cards does Jacob have left. So you're going to have to do some pretty good thinking on this particular problem, because quite honestly, we really haven't worked with finding half of a number. We've been looking at finding half of a geometric figure, but we have not been looking at finding half of a number. So there's hopefully you're going to experiment just a little bit with some different strategies that you could use to be able to find half of the number 70. Alrighty, so I'll be interested to see how you do on that problem. Make sure that you absolutely watch the video first before you attempt to do this assignment. Let's go ahead and look at what you're supposed to be doing. You're going to have to make sure that you read carefully everything that you are supposed to be doing on this assignment. And you are going to be looking for parts A, C, and E. You're going to identify the shaded part. So like, for example, on this one, we have shaded 1/2. I'm going to do this first one with you. And then you're going to identify this shaded part, which would be 2/2. So 1/2 has been shaded here, and 1/2 has been shaded here. On part B, it's saying circle the shape that has shaded the area to show a hole. So I'm just going to help you with this one right here. If I was circling the one that showed the area that showed a hole, I would be circling this one. Then you're going to be doing the similar things down with part C and part D, and then part E and part F. I thought those instructions were a tiny bit confusing, so that's how come I did the first one for you. And as you have seen me do other times, when you have 2 shaded out of 2, that is equal to 1 hole. And we have talked about that in previous lessons, and hopefully that will help you with this lesson as well. All right, so you're going to do that part of the practice problem set, and then on part 2 it says, what fraction do you need to color? Now this is a little bit different. What fraction do you need to color so that the hole is shaded? So what fraction do you need to color? One has already been shaded, but you're talking about what would you need to color so that you have the whole thing colored. So you wouldn't say 1/3 on this one. I'll do this first one with you. I'm seeing that I have 2 parts that need to be colored. So I would say 2/3, or I could write it in words as 2/3. That's what needs to be shaded in order to have the whole. Whether you write it as a fraction or you write it as words, I'm good either way. If you know how to do both, I would strongly suggest that you show it both ways, because I think it's good practice for you to know that we're talking about the fraction 2/3, or in words 2/3. And I'm going to change this to 2. I think that's how she did it on the video, was 2/3 that way. All right, so you're going to do A, B, C, D, E, and F. Oh my gosh, that's got a line right through the middle of it, but that shouldn't be a problem. And then on number 3, you're supposed to complete the drawing to show the hole. This is 1/2 of the hole. You're supposed to draw the hole. This is half of it. This is 1/3 of the hole, and this is 1/4 of the hole. I'm going to let you try that one all by yourself. And then you're going to check with me. We're going to go over all of the problems to see how you did. And then you'll need to do your exit ticket. This is kind of a short lesson, isn't it? Then you're going to do your exit ticket and send it to your teacher. Send to your teacher. There we go, sending to your teacher. Here we are. There we are. Excellent. Okay, sending that to your teacher. Very excellent. So let's go ahead and go over this. And then there's one thing that I do need to talk to you about because things are going to change a little bit. In fact, you know what? I'll do it after we get finished checking things out together, because we are going to be making a change next Tuesday on where your lessons are going to be coming from for that very last week of school, and the 2 days, second to last week, and then the last week of school, which of course will start next Tuesday. But I'll talk to you about that after you've had a chance to go through all of this. So you're going to pause the video, work those problems, and then you're going to come back and see me and check out how you did. Are you back? Okay, let's take a look and see how you did, shall we? Let's take a look and see how you did. So we have Jacob, who collected 70 baseball cards, and he gave half, oh my gosh, gave half of them to his brother. Sammy, how many baseball cards does Jacob have left? Well, I thought this was going to be a two-step problem, and it kind of is a two-step problem, so I'm going to say 2 steps because I did have to do 2 steps, or you could do 2 steps to solve this problem, or it could also be done in 1 step. It could be done in 1 step, depends on how you're thinking of the numbers. So I started off saying that he had a total of 70 baseball cards. So in my bar model, I'm showing that he had 7 baseball cards. And when he got finished, he gave half of them to his brother. So what I had to do is I had to figure out what was half of 70. Now, we haven't ever done that before, so I kind of thought this was interesting that they would throw this problem in at this particular juncture, even though we haven't not divided numbers into halves, at least not a 70. We've been dividing shapes into halves, but we have not been dividing numbers into halves. So what I did is I counted by tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and I tried to figure out what was halfway between 0, which I would have started with, and 70, because that would be the halfway point. So when I started thinking, I thought, well, 10, 20, 30 gives me 30. 40, 50, 60 is another 30, and I still had 10 more to get up to 70, so I split that 10 into 5 and 5. So then I added 30 and 5 to get 35, and 30 and 5 to get 35. And then I added 35 and 35 to see if I got 70, and I did. So you could have done that in 1 step, and you would have known that he gave half. The half that he gave would have been 35. And what he had left would be the other half, which would also be 35. So 35 plus 35 is 70. And of course, my last step that I took for my 2-step problem is I did subtract just to make sure that that was absolutely true, that 70 take away 35 was also going to give me 35. So half of 70 would be 35. And if you were able to figure that out, I am impressed with you, because that was kind of a tough problem, I thought, in my opinion, for 2nd graders. But if you did it, yee-hoo, way to go. Okay, so now let's take a look. I did this first one for you just a few minutes ago, and now we're going to look at problem C. I was supposed to circle, wait a second. I had to show how much had been shaded. 1 out of the 3 had been shaded, or 1/3. On problem number, the 2nd problem, there's 1, 2, 3 equal parts. 2 of those parts have been shaded, 2/3, or 2/3 written out in words. And 3 out of 3 have been shaded on this particular picture. 3 out of 3, which is equal to 1 whole, or 3/3. And then you had to circle the one that shows the whole. And that's why we circled this one. Okay, this is the same problem except with fourths. So I have 1/4 shaded. I could do it either as words or a fraction. You should really do it as both, in my opinion. This one, all 4 had been shaded, so 4/4 or 4/4, which of course is equal to 1 whole. I didn't write that down, and I should have. That helps me with the last problem. 2 out of the 4 have been shaded, and if you know anything about what we've been doing, that would be equal to 1/2. So I did throw that in because I don't think it hurts for you to know that. And 3 out of the 4 have been shaded or 3/4, and I had to circle the one that shows the whole, which would be this one. 4/4 makes 1 whole. So far, so good, looking good, feeling happy. Turning over to the next page, here we go. This time we are going to say what fraction do you need to color in order to get the whole part shaded? Well, there's 1 shaded here and 2 that need to be shaded. So that would be 2/3 I would need to color in order to have a whole, because that's what we're looking for, is trying to figure out what that would look like if it was a whole. I would still have 2 more that I would need to shade to make a whole. Of course, on this one I would need to shade 1/2 or 1/2. On this one I would need to shade 2/4 in order to get a whole. On this one I would need to shade 1/3 or 1/3 to get a whole. On this one I have to shade 1/2 to get a whole. And on this one I would need, oh wait a minute, I did that wrong. Uh-oh, Miss Star made a boo-boo. That's probably because I did it in a big fat hurry. I would need to shade 1/4. Oh my goodness, I saw my mistake. 1/4 in order to get to the place where I had a hole. That would be the kind of boo-boo that you would most likely make, would be looking at what you had shaded rather than what you need to shade to get a hole. I'm sure glad I fixed my mistake before I got too far into it. There it is. Now, to complete the drawing to show a hole, this is 1/2, that much. If I want to have a hole, I am going to have to draw 2 of those, because this would be 1/2 and this would be 1/2, and those 2 together would make a hole. So they gave me 1/2, and I had to draw a second 1/2 in order to have a hole. This one right here was 1/3, and if I want to make the hole, I had to draw 2 more thirds, and if I shaded those all the way in, I would have a hole. I had to draw 2 more. This one is 1/4, and I had to draw 3/4 in order to create that hole. So on this one I drew 1, on this one I had to draw 2 parts, and on this one I had to draw 3 parts in order to be able to create a hole using that first piece, which was 1/4. There you go. That was pretty straightforward. I hope that that wasn't too difficult of a problem for you, and that you were able to figure out how to make that happen. Now, with that, my friends, boy, that lesson went by lickety-split fast. I've only been at it for 12 minutes. That's amazing to me. If you were struggling with any of these problems, you might want to go back and double check, or it would be a good idea to go back and watch the video for today's lesson if you were struggling just a little bit, because now you need to do your exit ticket. What fraction do you need to color in order to have a hole shaded? So we just did an exercise like that, so this should be pretty easy for you. If you can think of 2 different ways to be able to show that in words and also as a fractional representation, that would be great, but you would get credit for either one. So, my friends, I hope you've had a great week of learning and a great day of learning today. And with that, I am going to say goodbye, and I will see you again on our next lesson. Have a great day of learning. Bye-bye.